Hello and welcome back to another 10-minute investment eye test with Arcanum Ventures. I'm Carmelo and this is my good friend and co-founder Sasha. And today we're going to be covering Humanity Protocol, the world's first blockchain that proves you're a real human using just your palm with privacy-first civil resistance, access to Web3 and digital services for all. Sasha, do you know anything about Humanity Protocol?
I know nothing. I know
I guess
nothing about this, and that sounds so absurd.
I guess it's like it's Worldcoin, but instead of using your eyes, laser beam scanning your eyes, you're using your palm print.
Oh
So
no, it's one of those palm readers. I thought the world's seen enough of those.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know much about it, but it's definitely not the world's first blockchain trying to solve this issue. I guess WorldCoin's already been there, done that, but they have a different way of doing it. But aside from the way they get that biometric data or whatever you want to call it, I'm wondering what the key differences are, what the token does, and what they do differently, and who's better ultimately. Because this is seeming to be a dire need for Web3 and probably the entire internet sooner rather than later with all these AI bots, and it's impossible to know who's human or not when you're interacting online.
Oh yeah, I think we, in our last week in blockchain update we released on Monday. I think there was an article, I guess there was news updating on the Iran-Israel situation, talking about how there are pro-Israel or anti-Israel or pro-Iran or anti-Iran accounts sharing doctored videos, old videos, doctored images and photos, claiming absurd things. And it's so wild when you figure like the majority of them are probably just trying to engagement farm to monetize their accounts. Like imagine spreading that type of hate or misinformation just for selling your account for $500 later. What awful human beings. But I think I've anticipated that's going to be a huge problem going forward on the tech and social media landscape with the prevalence of AI tech. But yeah, I don't know if Humanity Protocol is going to be able to solve it, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I vibe with the idea at least. Let's see when we get into the details what they're actually doing and how they are able to accomplish it. But it's not just AI either. It's just, on Twitter, for example, one person can have 100 accounts that they're liking their own post, and it's impossible. It's kind of like a sybil issue just with social media and existing online. So I'm keen to see what the token does. Anybody that's not familiar with the format, we take 10 minutes to look at the token because these usually involve a digital asset of some sort, how it plugs into the ecosystem, and if it's investable. We're obviously a VC and we do investments, so we have to look at this with a keen eye and see, does this utility make sense? Is it going to accrue value or at least hold value so that I can make some return on my investment? And obviously, I think we've been seeing a trend lately of really cool products with either no information about the token or just a poorly designed token that doesn't make sense for that protocol. So wondering which one this will fall into at the end of this video.
Yeah, we're gonna find out for sure. I'm really interested to understand if this is just a WorldCoin copy or a clone.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just going to be hemorrhaging rewards, but we'll see what their business model looks like. And yeah, for those of you unfamiliar, we take 10 short minutes to dive into this. Make sure you stick around till the end for the verdict, where we are going to say either thumbs up, we're interested in something like this, investing or potentially learning more, or thumbs down, too many red flags. And without any further ado, we'll go ahead and start the clock. Melo, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, 10 minutes on Humanity Protocol, starting right meow, boom. And so we've got crypto rank up, and this is the profile for Humanity Protocol. A launch pool starting today, and already I see Pantera, which is a huge name. I think Shima as well. That's wild.
Been seeing Pantera quite a bit lately on the last 3 videos, I think.
Some big names on this cap table: IBC, Foresight, IBC, Animoca, Cypher, Long Hash, Jump, Shima, MH, Pantera, Sandeep, and Yes You is an angel along with his company Animoca.
Wow. Oh yeah, Paul. We know Paul Taylor too. It's funny how CryptoRank does the rankings too. Like I thought Animoca used to be tier 2, and now they've dropped down to tier 3 somehow.
Shout out to Paul Taylor. He's definitely a tier 2 at least. But this is wild. 1 billion valuation. Jesus, what's going
Wow.
on?
Raised
And
$50
so let's
million too.
Yeah, I mean, it looks according to CryptoRank, they raised 30 million in the seed, 20 million in the strategic, and also there was a strategic apparently before the seed. I'm sure that this is information is incorrect.
Yeah.
It doesn't say how much they had raised there, but the most recent valuation was over $1 billion, and I
Wow.
think that's on I assume the token supply. So yeah, that's crazy, man. That's a huge valuation for a token you want to market in this environment.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like the $50 million question we always ask is, where does equity come into play here? How decentralized is this? Is there equity? I would believe there probably is, but were there investments taken purely against equity or some division between the token and the equity?
Yeah, it's a great question, and hopefully we're going to find out. I mean, if the token use cases seem like it's a true DAO governance structure, then maybe there was no equity sold. But hopefully we figure that out. And so let's go ahead and dive into the website. I've got Humanity Protocol website up here. This is interesting branding. What's your take?
Yeah, I like it. It looks clean and nice, professional looking, and yeah, it looks like the website's lays out the inner information properly. I see on the top that it's for humans, for developers, for enterprises. So they've thought pretty clearly on who they want to use this and who they imagine will come to this website, which is something that you and I preach all the time to our portfolio companies. Has to make sense, and you have to really, when designing a token economy too, you have to imagine who's going to be using this token, who's going to be using this platform, and in this case, who's going to be using this identity chain. So pretty much anybody that needs a service where you validate somebody's humanity. We have KYC protocols, but maybe this is going to be sort of like a KYC chain if you imagine it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like we've mentioned this in DID based startups before on the eye test. Something like this has to happen, and it's going to be globally accepted. No one knows who's going to do that, and a lot of these systems for identity verification, even passport systems. If you look at passports for citizens from different countries, formatting is very different. and
Yeah.
and so like this doesn't exist, and it's going to be very difficult to get governments to work together. Like we can't even get like privatized companies to come together on something like this. Look at how the metaverse failed in so many aspects.
Yeah, and I imagine the interesting thing here is that it's probably, if I had to venture a guess, it's going to be using ZK proofs, zero knowledge proofs. So you have to identify that somebody is an individual, but you don't necessarily have to keep that information, their biometric data. I think WorldCoin is maybe doing that, but I'm not positive. But you don't have to reveal who it is. You just have to reveal that they are an individual and that they are unique.
Mm.
So you and I can venture a guess. Like the good thing lately is we're in the age of rollups and blockchains where it seems like everything is reimagining itself as a blockchain. So all blockchains have similar utilities. So we could kind of venture a guess that this might involve some sort of governance, some sort of decentralization, node validators that you can run, maybe you stake tokens or something like that. Won't imagine that there will be really crazy utilities here that we've never seen before, but we might be surprised.
Yeah, I guess we're going to find out. The palm is a big deal, like you said. We've got seamless logins across multiple platforms. You're like verifying with your palm print. Is that what's happening? Instead of like
uh, I don't
iris
know.
scan or something.
I mean, one weird
Um,
thing about this is the iris scan. Like, I think it's a little bit easier to scan irises. Like, I think WorldCoin has even done something where they can scan your eyes with a mobile app, but a palm reader, I don't think you can just do that with your phone. Like, that seems like a little bit more technical, or you need a specific device or hardware to do that.
yeah, I mean, what happens if you like cut your hand or God forbid, damage your hand or something. But there's no mention of the tokens so far. We're just talking about like the use cases, seamless utilization in different types of applications or hardware, biometric verification, verified identity. And yes, this is all possible with biometric data. This is nothing new. They're almost
Hmm.
just like marketing something that already exists and
Yeah.
just saying like this is what they're doing. Secure your digital identity with Humanity Protocol. And again, tying biometric data to digital databases is not something new either. There are many European countries when it comes to passports and biometric data like iris scan or whatever that already do this. And so, again, there's nothing innovative here that I'm seeing, especially worth a $1 billion valuation, right?
Yeah, I guess the hope is
ZK
that
proof.
they get adopted so that they're the go-to for the industry. But I am curious to see who started this first. Like, did they develop this before WorldCoin, or did they respond to WorldCoin and their crazy valuation and their crazy backing by Sam Altman, for example? Like, that's obviously no small name. But I wonder how long they've been developing this and if they were pissed off when they saw the announcement for WorldCoin a few years back.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder because WorldCoin kind of pioneered the whole let's put orbs everywhere and start
Yeah.
getting people to scan their irises. Like that's not possible without some global campaign for people to sign up in person, in real life. So someone had to be that like awkward first person to the party. The interesting thing is I see a lot of wording and language around here like start building. You know,
Hmm.
start building with us, do this and do that. I would venture to guess that like they have nothing that's very innovative on the blockchain infrastructure side because essentially what they're doing is just taking biometric data and feeding it into like NFT based smart contracts that exists everywhere. They probably don't have to spend a whole lot of money on the tech infrastructure side for this,
I'm not
especially if
sure
they're
about
using like
that.
IPFS databases. I don't know if they're going to be storing like complex biometric data on chain or building a blockchain specifically for this.
I don't think that's how they're doing it. I think with the ZK proofs, they're just going to verify that you're an individual and then they'll codify that onto their blockchain. But I haven't seen much mention of where this is launched. Like, is this a layer two on top of Ethereum, or is it in the Cosmos ecosystem or Polkadot? Or I don't know what the underlying architecture is. And we still haven't seen any mention of the token as well. You're right about it. And you brought up a good point before for WorldCoin, these awkward first moments where people were queuing up in Japan around the corner waiting to get their eyes scanned for a meager, paltry $40, I think. So the token is also a reward mechanism to bring people initially onto the chain. Whether it continues to be that way when everybody's onboarded or if everybody's onboarded, I'm not sure. But it is an earn-based system as well, probably for Humanity Protocol. Although I haven't seen so much language about that, like earn to scan your palm or anything like that, which is good. I think it's more thought out and better. It looks like people here are scanning their hand. I guess it is easier than we thought on these devices or phones.
It's interesting. There's so much to break down here, and like look at this section. It's the digital identity creation, identity verification, share identity attributes, and blockchain records. Again, like if anyone's familiar with ZK sync technology or zero knowledge proof tech in blockchain applications, they're not really inventing anything new. ZK technology in its current state allows developers to do all of this already. So it's not like huge innovation. They're kind of just like advertising that, the analogy I used before on some videos, that a car is powered by combustion technology. So it's weird how they're kind of like marketing something that inherently exists in the tech that they're using. And then one of the interesting things here, like it looks to me like they have to develop proprietary hardware and deploy that in multiple locations for people to actually use this palm scanning technology, which is a huge barrier for adoption. If anyone wants to use this, they have to buy some proprietary tech with maybe some like a high resolution camera or some IR camera that's going to scan your palm. This is not something that is easily plugged or portable into like smart contract tech. So that's a huge barrier as well. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, everybody,
there's our 10
it's sort of
minutes.
like chip readers for cards, right? Like more and more merchants are making it easier to just scan your card or boop your card or whatever you want. I don't know what the verb is,
Mm,
but you
boop it. I like that.
before you had to swipe it. Before that, we don't take cards; we just take cash. So I guess people will adapt. Like it looked like there was a guy going to a gym with a gym membership right here. He just scans it. Maybe that is the way to do it in the future, and it's sort of like a deep in play if you think about it. Like we sell hardware. I
Yeah.
don't know if they'll sell this and it'll be part of the revenue model and the equity for the company. Like we make money by selling hardware and software. and we have an underlying blockchain that powers it all. One big concern I have is, what is this interoperable with? Because if I have to use WorldCoin for some things and I have to use Humanity Protocol for other things, and then there's a gap where some are not serviced by either one of those and they have their own thing, like I don't want to use 7 different identity protocols. I would prefer to have one that's interoperable, that can share between chains and protocols. So I wonder if that's what they're going for, or if that's the finish line for this race, for global adoption and becoming the king of the hill, or maybe they don't care about that. So far, they just want to establish themselves.
That's so interesting, man. There's so much to break down. I want to make one more comment before we go to verdict. Like, I think it's, when it comes to like viability for identity verification using your palm scanning, like, I don't know much about this technology. I don't know what the accuracy rate is, but it's definitely more viable than like WorldCoin, because, just on my own impression and from the conversations I've had, specifically around like airport security and TSA checks and everything, like having to look into a camera and scan your eyeball is a little bit unsettling. So if you had to do that to go to your gym, like, you probably wouldn't sign up at that gym, right? There's something that just feels a little bit weird about it. Uncomfortable, maybe risky. Tech around your eye, no, I'm not down for that. So I think that it's more viable of a consumer-based application or end-user-based application or B2B thing, like in the consumer side for, like, let's say restaurants, F&B, fitness, whatever. Like, that makes sense. I think that's a pretty good use case. But again, you're right. This is like, we're talking about now, they're a hardware company. And when it comes down to like the finances or the economics of it, it's hard to evaluate. We haven't seen anything about the token. Let's go into verdicts.
Yeah, I told you. It's a recurring theme. Little to no information about the token, which is good and bad. I think that can be seen as a good thing because we've moved away from the token as the main feature and the main product. Thankfully, finally. Last cycle, it was not the case. It was the front and center, the thing that you see first and the thing you see most. So now it's shifted, but it also, I think we were talking with somebody in our community today about it and how this could also be laziness. Like, we just raised $50 million. We'll pay somebody later, like Arcanum Ventures, to come in and build the economy out so we can justify that $50 million sold to investors, which happens quite often, more often than people realize. But I guess I'll go first for my verdict. I'll give it one palm up. Raise the roof. I think it's I've been very harsh in the past about WorldCoin, and I still am. I don't love the idea. It feels too centralized and dystopian for me. And Humanity Protocol may end up the same way, going down that route. For now, I'm impressed by the tech. You're absolutely right to have your doubts. Does this actually work? Can I game it? What are people without arms and legs supposed to do with this? Maybe there's just no way to get by that. You can say the same about WorldCoin too. What if you're blind or you have no eyes for some reason? Then you're shit out of luck, basically. So it's a nice thought, and it's definitely going to become more of a hot topic, and it's going to become more necessary. If you subscribe to like the dead internet theory and how we're interacting constantly with fake people and fake bots online all day, it's a little bit unsettling. So it is nice to know that, like, all right, I don't need to know that this person is from this country or this old or what they look like or if it's a male or female. All I need to know is that they actually exist and they're a person. I don't need to know much else. So it is useful for that, to verify that, and to verify that you are an individual and that this is who you say you are. You're not allowed to like scan 2 different palm prints and have multiple identities. Like, you and I can go on Twitter and make 5, 10, 100 accounts. I don't think you can do that with this, and that's the point. So I like the idea, but as we said, we didn't see anything about the token. I would imagine that it's maybe not a gas token, but it's powering the blockchain validation. You can earn by helping run this network if they want to go for the decentralized network, the alternative to WorldCoin. And they're probably going to have some sort of reward mechanism in place to get these people onboarded onto the chain. Because let's be real, most people are not going to scan their palm print or their eye for free, at least initially. Maybe later on you're going to have to. I saw that dating apps, for example, are starting to use WorldCoin, which is good and bad too. Like, you don't want to think you're talking to somebody that's not really who they say they are, or not a person at all. So it is useful. I think this will be more and more prevalent as we progress to the next 5, 10 years. So I like it. I would look more into it. I'm not saying I would invest in it because it might just be a poorly designed token that's a reward mechanism, not tied to revenue at all. The company's making a bunch of money on hardware and in B2B2C contracts, but they're not giving anything back to the token holders and investors. So I'd say palm up. That was a long-winded approach to that.
That was. I, you know what? Palm down.
Palm
So
down.
I disagree. I don't think this is viable for a number of reasons. I think that it's one of those scenarios of like trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. If you think about like business, look, I'm not saying this isn't useful. This is very useful in certain applications. Maybe it's more useful when it comes to like identity verification of like high security type of things, right? Like it's a good alternative for iris scan identity verification. And so like a
Yeah.
direct competitor would be WorldCoin. I don't know, again, how accurate palm reading identity verification is. I don't know, like if you have eczema or you like cut your hand, if all of a sudden accuracy levels go down. And so, like these are big questions to ask when you're considering like the application for this. But it seems like based on the website, they're targeting more so like consumer based applications, which is a large target market, and that's what they should be doing. But I think that these markets are not receptive to this type of tech. I think that it's much easier to implement some sort of identity verification method where there's a lower barrier of like information collection, like smartphone identity verification, 2FA, or like single sign on with Facebook or Google or whatever. RFID is probably going to be like the low hanging fruit for something for like signing into a gym with your phone. Everyone's got a smartphone. Arguably, more people have smartphone or wearable tech than like the people that don't have smartphones or wearable tech is probably a smaller portion of people that like don't have vision, or like maybe they're amputees or something. And
Yeah.
at the same time, like you don't need a high level of identity verification accuracy for a gym membership or whatever. Like the systems that are in place right now to prevent like credit card fraud and theft just because someone stole your driver's license or whatever, like
Hmm.
that works just fine. There's not a lot of lost revenue there, I would guess. So again, I think they're trying to solve a problem that doesn't really exist, and they're trying to do it by probably having to onboard a massive sales team and account management team and convince venues to buy hardware and install hardware. And not only that, but you've got to train these people in how to use this hardware. So there's like huge barriers in actually rolling this out, just like there'd be huge barriers in WorldCoin in rolling that out, which I think that's going to fail. On the economic side, sorry, this is going to be a little long winded. On the economic side, like it's easy to do the math. If your target market in the beginning is F&B in North America, then like what your limitation is as far as like number of transactions you could hit, transaction revenue from people using this tech, and then how many people you're hoping to capture. If it's like all of the United States and 300 something million people, let's say 200 million that are like in the age of like going out to eat at restaurants. In the case of WorldCoin, this maniac Sam Altman was saying he wants to turn it into a universal basic income. How much money are you going to hemorrhage in like providing incentives and rewards for all these people to give you their identity? And is that easily offset by your potential revenue based on like the rates of people going out to eat at restaurants and scanning their irises or scanning their palms? So I just don't think the finances work. I don't think the business viability works. And for that, palm down.
Yeah, I don't think WorldCoin itself was ever meant to be this basic income system, but it's meant to be the guardrails for it because you do need to make sure that one person, one payment. So it is to facilitate the distribution of some sort of UBI, but not the UBI itself. But maybe he does intend for the actual token to be the vehicle in which that is done or sent. So yeah, it's interesting to see what the long term visions are for these type of companies. But in the immediate term, it's definitely useful. I think there's a need here. Maybe how they're doing it is not the most sensible way.
Mm.
Palm eye scans, but not sure what alternatives we have.
I mean, like the U.S. government could easily obsolete these companies by just like using whatever biometric data they have and attaching a blockchain to it. and so like it just seems like it's not that strong from my perspective. I don't know. Even if they pay $1 or $2 to everybody, which is nothing, one or
Yeah.
$2 for scanning their palm, this could bankrupt this company in 2 years. That's wild.
Watch next week. We're going to be covering Palantir chain.
Oh God, Palantir.
All right. Well, I guess we're sort of in agreement, but sort of not as far as the palms go. But that's been another 10-minute investor eye test on Humanity Protocol. Whatever happens, we're going to be keenly following along. And best of luck to the Humanity Protocol team. And if you haven't done so already, like and subscribe and tell us why we're wrong or what we're missing about Humanity Protocol. Because obviously, in 10 minutes, we can't cover everything. And more people have been vocal about shouting at us after these videos saying, you didn't cover my favorite part about the project. So let us know. And we're always trying to improve the format. So thank you for joining Sasha and myself for another 10-minute investor eye test. We hope to see you next week. Ciao,
Ciao,
everybody.
y'all.